Hello everyone, this is Trisha and Glenn here, Sam's mom, and I get asked sometimes, why do I go and shoot videos while I'm in the car? Well, I live in Los Angeles, actually in Santa Monica for many years, and I drive around quite a bit for different reasons. Right now I'm just really busy meeting families and going to interviews that we're doing with them. Families that are affected by CPS and DCFS Los Angeles are being interviewed with us for the documentary that I'm producing. It's really important, I think, to meet these families in person and hear their story. And I thought it'd be really also helpful to go and tell you all our story. It doesn't take much to get the attention of CPS, which is Child Protection Services in the U.S. In fact, certain groups in the U.S. like Hispanic and African American, they say that about 40% of the children at some point in their life, in their childhood, are having an experience with Child Protective Services because they were either falsely, wrongly accused of being in a family where they needed help, or they just actually needed help. Then there is, and I'd like to point out this article over and over again. There was this really important article written by the Huffington Post. It was a few years ago, but it really, makes it very clear that Child Protective Services and the local agencies that are affiliated, that are here, like in Los Angeles, called DCFS, or Department of Family and Children Services, they target happy and healthy kids from families where there's no help needed, and essentially try to go and put them in foster care with the hope that maybe they can go and collect more money, federal funding, and then maybe even adopt them out. I've met, and I also interviewed a number of parents, a lot of times single parents or divorced parents, a lot of moms, a lot of immigrants, a lot of people from underserved communities, but a lot of also like people like us who are typical ordinary middle class people that even exist in America, and who are essentially stuck with their child suddenly in a system. Once you're stuck, just like the attorney Kyle Pearl, who works out of Long Beach here in the Los Angeles area, stated in his professional attorney blog, once you're stuck in the system, 94% chances that it will go on for quite a while, meaning beyond the 3-day hearing, the detention hearing. You'll get a case opened, and then you get some services you have to do as a parent, which are completely not customized for you, and a lot of times you don't even need any of these parenting classes or drug abuse classes or whatever, because you're not a drug addict. But they make you do them anyway, because they need to justify that your child is in a system. Story with us started, how appropriate. That's a police officer trying to get to someone going the other direction. Story with us started really a number of years ago, when I had this landlord who I only had for 3 months. We moved into this apartment in Santa Monica, and he was a terrible landlord. He didn't really fix a broken gas heating system. In fact, it was unsafe. We were ordered relocation that he needed to pay for us by the city of Santa Monica. We refused to do so, not just once, but twice. And then he took revenge, and he started off with calls to the police, and then he graduated to the Child Protective Services. And he did have experience because he is a licensed family attorney to this day, even though I don't think he's practicing. He's more like investing in real estate, and who knows what else this guy is up to. Not much good, I know for sure. His name is Roger Pecan, Roger Bruce Pecan. His real estate company's name is Stone Ridge Partners, also goes under Stone Ridge Partners too. And he had some article written about him in the LA Times that he can be on a personal vendetta against ex-partners, and he's sort of known as a crazy guy even in the neighborhoods here, where other tenants who I spoke with told me that, yeah, he's very vindictive and a very nasty man. He reported us falsely to CPS, and then next thing you know, we got the attention of, came to the attention of CPS, and I had my son removed while I was at work, warrant which was supposed to go and be put into my hands after somebody looks at our apartment. Never happened, so that's illegal for them to do. They're supposed to go and look at the apartment conditions. They can't just go and snatch a child out of a daycare center. Or preschool in this case, because Sam was, preschool age, and they need to go and show the parent a warrant. They didn't do that, so if I would have known at the time, I would have been able to go and get this case dismissed within 3 days. Also due to the fact that there were no witnesses for anything that I've done wrong, of course, I was not familiar enough with the system, and as a result, I suddenly had an open case, and my son was in the custody of DCFS. One of the things we really like to do with this nonprofit that I name after my son, Sam's Voice, is to go and educate and raise awareness, so that people like me, regular moms who are just really happy and are a really good mom, don't get caught up in a system with their children like this. Again, if I would have known, they would have had no chance of keeping my son even a day. But they kept him for 3 days. I went to a detention hearing, and then they opened a case plan, and that resulted into like a 6 months case plan, which is common. And during those 6 months, I needed to fulfill whatever requirements they had, which was just very simple in my case: a parenting class, a drug abuse class, which did pretty much these 2 things I do for everyone, and some counseling, and and then weekly drug testing. A lot of other people have some other additional things going on, like anger management or something. None of that was assigned to me because there was no case for it. But there was no case for any of the other things as well. I was never proven to be a bad parent. I actually came to this country originally as a teenager, then I was on au pair for a year when I was 18, and then I've been pretty much, like, just because I love it so much, I've been helping other parents with play dates and even professional childcare and babysitting, and I'm known to be a very reliable and highly recommended babysitter and a child caregiver, even for local religious services and so on. And I love kids, and I'm really good with them. I've always been. I grew up in a big family in Europe before I moved here as a teenager. So once my son was in the system, and these are really 3 things I want to tell you. It's like, a lot of these kids are like, when they end up in foster care because a mom or dad or both don't have immediate family in the same city, they end up in foster care, and in foster care my son was abused. Foster caregiver number 1 pretty much was interested in adopting my son immediately, and just like made it really difficult for me to have daily FaceTime calls with him or get to visits. And then she eventually let go of him after like having him fall out of his high chair multiple times, and I reported her, and she made up some story about like I came to a home that of course never happened. I never really was interested in that. I just wanted to get my son home. Then he was moved into a very horrendous situation with a single guy in a really bad neighborhood in LA, 65th and Western, which is South LA or South Central LA, and I had to endure a lot of terror, and so did my son. He was terrorized. He was physically abused and emotionally abused. He was neglected by this man, and I eventually got him out of this guy's care, but it took about 5 months to do so. And he was in respite care for a week or 2. And by the way, I should go back. When he was in this guy's care, my son was really distraught and was crying a lot at the end of the visits. He didn't want to leave me, of course not. He always cried, and then he also came with bruises and injuries, physical injuries, and he didn't receive speech therapy that he had while he was in my care, just to go and prevent any speech delay because he had recurring ear infections and had ear tubes put in his ears when he was about 2.5. And then he ended up with this guy who didn't really take care of him. The social worker was absolutely horrendous. Her name is Angela Lee, out of the West LA DCFS office. She was her supervisor, Kathy Weingart, I should say. Kathy Weingart and social worker Angela Lee. Kathy Weingart being the supervisor, and Angela Lee being the social worker on the case, completely neglected and abused my son. They did not provide him the speech therapy that I requested. They didn't provide him anything. They put him in a really bad, abusive foster care place. And then they also apparently drugged him, which made sense once I read about it. Accidentally, really. I don't think they wanted to reveal that information in their service delivery logs, they call them. My son was essentially put on psychotropic drugs without my parental consent, and they, to this day, deny it, but it's in their service delivery logs, and that wouldn't just be in there for no particular reason. And it all makes sense because my son looked really drugged, and he looked out of it when he was seeing me during these visits. Then he was put in respite care when I finally got him out of there, out of this abusive home, and then he was in respite care, I guess, for a week or two, which means like another foster care place just temporarily before they found this place that, again, a couple, childless couple, never been a parent, took him in, the home of Michael B. And his wife, I assume. And and they just were either clueless or just outright complicit from the start. They just didn't want to participate in reunification, which they're supposed to as foster caregivers. They actually put up pictures of my son and them calling themselves mom and dad right away, and putting pictures on social media. And they, to this day, just have been absolutely horrendous in the sense of not really looking at my son's needs or my needs, and respecting our family, and they were essentially part of the problem from the start, and that's really important. It's really the social workers who are neglecting and abusing healthy and happy kids. It's the foster caregivers who are selfish and who are either unqualified or just not interested in really looking at the truth and helping families come back together. It's the attorneys in this juvenile court system or the family court system who are essentially just looking to benefit from the cases. And it's really drastic. These courts, the juvenile court and the family court, don't have juries. They don't have any oversight committees. Even lawyers tell me that the judges in these courts are often just appointed or political appointments. They're not really even elected, and they have very little qualification. Our first judge didn't even have any judge experience at all. He was an attorney in international law before. Craig Barnes, our second judge, after I got the first judge removed, was a guy who has a family history of distributing child pornography, and his brother was just recently indicted, and then he pled guilty in a federal court for distribution of child pornography. Judge number 3 here is, I think, the most corrupt of all, because he just smiles in the face and he doesn't really care that foster caregivers do anything wrong, social workers do anything wrong. It's not in the best interest of the child. All he cares about is essentially making sure that the kid stays in the system no matter what. And that's really horrendous, and that needs to stop. This whole system needs to be reformed. That's what we're really interested in doing. We're raising awareness. I also have a change.org petition. I want to speak in Congress about it. I want to speak locally about it at different workshops, talks, wherever we can to go and raise awareness. But we really need to go and really, really push hard for reform. That means, locally, state-wise, and across the country. This is not a California thing. This is something that's going on across the country. Again, 400,000 children are stuck in the system, And the more awareness we can raise in the general public, the more we will help prevent these kind of situations to happen, and children that are completely innocent and parents that are completely innocent getting stuck in this system and then having to fight way too hard to go and get cases dismissed. Anyway, so I hope this gives you a little more insight on our story. There is a lot more to it. Sadly, psychological and physical abuse is very common in these foster care places. Social workers are unqualified a lot of times, or with their hidden agendas on just trying to benefit from keeping kids in the system financially. Don't really care about the physical and mental health of children at all. And certainly not about the health of the parent and the family unity. Constitutional rights are, essentially, not really respected. And I just want to say, we need everyone's help in the U.S. Your tax dollars are going towards these kind of, corrupt schemes that are really run by the local government, but these agencies receive a lot of federal funding. I believe the LA County, Los Angeles County here receives billions of dollars just to go and keep these agencies up and running, and they need to hit their quota with having enough kids in the system. Unbelievable, right? For them it's job security, and it shouldn't. And they even get bonuses for keeping kids longer or getting them adopted out. Unbelievable. Sometimes it makes me think like this can't be happening in America. It sounds more like Russia, doesn't it? Anyway, I hope you're really interested in helping us in whatever which way you can, helping raise awareness, interested and curious, and talking to family members, friends, and everyone else about it. Just reading our educational videos, getting involved in being part of a tribe, a group of parents and also individuals who are interested in taking on one case with one family and one child, and really helping them through the process by being both emotional support as well as practical support, and just being witnesses. And that's about it. There's so much more I can tell you, but I think for this video, I think I've given you an introduction, and if you have any questions, contact me, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.